Hello, everyone who is live on the call, and those of you listening to the replay. I want to welcome everybody. It is always a pleasure to connect with you on these monthly bonus calls. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Deborah Wayne. You probably do know me. And really, really glad to have you here. It's a real honor and a treat to connect with people who are on the new wavelength, or who are at least open and curious about a new way of thinking about health, a new way of thinking about healing. I would venture to guess that many of you have quite a story of your own, just like I do, as to how you ended up here. This is usually the last stop on the block. It should be the first, but it's often the last. And so, often I end up working with people who have really tried a lot of things to alleviate chronic pain, depression, anxiety, trauma. It could be trauma from childhood. It could be trauma from accidents or injuries or surgeries. Many people come here with all kinds of digestive drama or different areas and symptoms and conditions. That chronic fatigue is another big one, insomnia. Many people suffer from migraines. Lots of people have thyroid issues, immune disorders. The list goes on and on. Binge eating. You may even be here because you heard me speak and just something, you had a sense, you aren't even sure why you're here. A lot of people tell me this. They heard me speak, or they just saw me on a telesummit. I speak on a lot of online health summits. I think that's how most of you end up here. And they weren't even sure, but they just said, I felt like something, I had to be there. I had to go for a reason. And I'm glad those of you that felt something trusted your intuition, because that is what's happening. You're getting guidance. You're not here by accident. You're here for a reason. And you still might be skeptical or wondering, what the heck could this do for me? I've had pain for 30 years and nothing has helped, and I've tried everything. And I get that. I really do. I get it. I've been there myself. Most of the people I work with, that is their story. But I want to make sure you're clear that you don't have to be here for physical pain. That might be one of the motivators. That might not be your story. You could be here for anything in your life that's causing you to feel uncomfortable, unhappy, depleted, lacking. It could be relationships, it could be finances, it could be romance, it could be food, it could be EMFs and all the sensitivities to the environment. Anything, I call all of it painful. It's all painful if it's messing up your life. So just know we're going way beyond the scope of back pain. This is not about, I'll never ask you, I should never say never, but I can't remember ever asking someone to start eliminating foods and giving up all the foods they love and doing more physical therapy and getting injections or patches or pain pills. That's not what happens here. This is a very different universe. And it came as a result of my own suffering. My own suffering with, yes, some physical pain, but also I couldn't sleep for decades. I had a very negative, critical self-talk and committee in my head, and they never let up on me. And they were always telling me what was wrong and how I wasn't good enough. I felt a lot of extreme anxiety, I would call it. I was very anxious. And when I wasn't anxious, I was depressed. I was not at all in touch with my anger, and even less in touch with my fear. And these were driving my life. The fear and the anger were driving the bus every day, all day. And I didn't know it. And I was raised to get your act together, figure it out, and go to work and be a decent human being and be a responsible human being. So I kept trying to do that. And it was getting harder and harder to do that. And one day I woke up just literally lying like a mess of tears on the floor of my closet because I couldn't fake it one more day that everything was fine, and it wasn't fine at all in any area of my life. It looked fine. It looked great, in fact. If you would, from the outside looking in, my life looked pretty darn good. I had a huge, beautiful home in Scottsdale. I had a very handsome, very nice husband. We had great careers. I was still working. Um, I had family and people that loved me and really cared about me. But I will tell you this, I was half dead inside. I couldn't sleep at night without a pill. I couldn't get up without a pill. I couldn't eat without a pill. I couldn't digest without a pill. I couldn't go enjoy and relax without a pill. I couldn't get rid of the mystery pains without a pill. I was living with a cocktail of pills to get through every day. And nothing was changing. It was getting harder and harder to live like that. And the doctors would say, well, there's nothing wrong, honey. You're just stressed. You need a vacation. My own father said that. And nothing was showing up on medical tests except for a thyroid issue. And nothing I took fixed that thyroid. Nothing. Whether it was conventional and synthetic, whether it was nothing changed my thyroid. So, after a while, you go like, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm, there's something defective about me, right? Maybe I'm just stuck and blocked, or it's my karma, or I've been a bad person, or I'm just going to have to live like this the rest of my life. You start to question, what's wrong with me? Why me? Anybody ever do that? Is it just me? Yeah, you start to question. And that questioning and makes you seek. Over time, it makes you seek, because there's a little part of us, all of us, that knows it's not supposed to be like this, right? Or you wouldn't even be here. You would not be on a call like this if some part of you didn't know that it's not supposed to be hell and just getting through another day. That's not living, that's just existing. And I wanted more than that for my life. So I kept seeking and seeking and seeking and seeking, and that's how I ended up here. You never know what's right around the corner, my friend. You never know. So if you feel you've gone a long journey and it's been a hard, long journey and not a fun one, I don't want you to give up hope. I want you to just stay tuned, listen to every word. Something today make it click for you, because everything has a reason for being there, yes, but that doesn't mean you're to blame. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It means you haven't gone deep enough or been asked the proper questions to discover the messages from our pain and our patterns and our symptoms. We live in a world that basically says, where does it hurt? And let's cut it out or drug it out. And I don't know about you, but that got really old and really scary for me. And I could not see living a life, the rest of my life, with a pill for every problem. Didn't want to live like that. But that seemed to be the only solution at that time in my life. But a little voice said, there's got to be another way. And there is. I'm here to tell you, I haven't had a pill for a pain in 30 some plus years, over 35 years. Not one, ever. So whatever you're suffering from, I'm not giving medical advice, and I'm not telling you to just stop taking whatever you're taking. But what I am saying is there is another path that it's still very unfamiliar to most people. And we've entered a new age of energy, where energy is vibration and frequency are the rulers. They're the kings. And that's still very unfamiliar to most people. Some people are still going to roll their eyes. You may still roll your eyes. That's okay. It doesn't require belief. It requires an experience. And that's probably why you're here, is you saw a demo, you felt something actually happen, couldn't explain it, but you had a little bit of hope that maybe this could work for you. That's been the story for literally tens of thousands of people. And now I've worked with people in over 160 countries. Unheard of. I would never have thought this was ever going to happen to me or possible for me, or never thought this would be my life path. But once I saw what I needed to address personally, and I cleaned that up. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean nothing ever happens to Deborah. So today, quite frankly, I'm running on fumes. I'm moving, and I've been for over 2 weeks just in every spare moment cleaning and organizing, and Goodwill knows me by first name now, and packing and sorting and getting ready for a big move. I haven't moved my office or home in 12 years, and so it's a lot. And I have gone at it with full-blown Deborah Leo energy, and I'm tired, quite frankly. So see, life happens, and I have more energy than the average person, but I'm not invincible. But I know what to do to get back on track. And I had a big reserve tank as well, filled up from what I've discovered over the years and what I teach. And I will tell you that all the answers for everything you need and you're looking for, they're inside you. What works for me may not be 100% right for you. You have to discover and develop a very deep relationship with your innermost being. And your innermost being is connected to what I would call a higher power. I call it God. You might call it love or nature or divine intelligence, or you might think of it as the divine mind, or a universal intelligence, or a God consciousness, or a cosmic consciousness. People give it many names, and unfortunately they get triggered by names and bogged down by names. Let's just say this: there's a force in the universe and we're connected to it. But you may have forgotten or lost the sense of that connection. And that's where the power comes from. Because when you're trying to access personal power based on limited cellular energy, it's limited. And you will eventually feel like you could feel limited and run out of steam. But when you know how to recharge from universal energy, which is never runs out, and it's never depleted, it's not difficult. We're designed for this. We're designed to connect back into nature, cosmic consciousness, which is a type of intelligence and energy that is not fully understood yet. I don't claim to fully understand it either, but I know it exists, and I experience being able to be fully connected to it all the time at will, whenever I wish. And this is what enables me to start doing the high-speed energy healing, where I work in the biofield many years ago, because I discovered it wasn't Deborah doing the work. It wasn't me with some understanding of some esoteric sounding concept. It wasn't some theory. I had an actual experience that was 100% clear to me that it didn't come from me. It came to me and through me, but it didn't come from me deciding I'm going to go out and be a healer. It was nothing like that. It came as a result of my complete breakdown of body, mind, and spirit. And when I stopped trying to do it all myself, when I stopped trying to be in charge and be in control of everything and everyone, myself and others, when I stopped trying to be powerful, I discovered there is a power, and it flows through me and it flows through you too. And the only problem we have on this planet is we lose connection to that true source of infinite energy and power. And it's not just energy the way you think of energy. It's not that. It's an energy that is filled with information that connects us to what we need and what we need to know and who we need to be um, around. We have this information in the field around us all the time. There's nothing hidden. It's all in this huge energetic field. And we live in that field. It's like swimming in the middle of the ocean, and it looks like it goes on into infinity around you. And you're just one little drop in the middle, which is true. You and I are one drop in that ocean, but we are part of that ocean, and we're connected to it all the time. And the problem isn't that you're lacking anything. The problem is that your sense of connection to the greater field of all that is, it got foggy. You got fog over it, and it's clouding your view from the truth. So the work to do isn't that you need healing. The work is to remove the clouds that are standing in the way of remembering and experiencing who you truly are. Now, what do I mean by these clouds? So I'll give you some examples of clouds. Some of my clouds, when I crashed and burned, were things like I thought I had to be and act and look a certain way to have any sense of worth or value. So I would try harder or study harder or look a different way or change something about myself to try to be more, thinking that that would get me somewhere in life. All that does is deplete you, my friends. You already are more than enough, just the way you are. But when something has happened where you have judged something about yourself, that creates a lot of fog. And that fog will make you change your behavior, and it will change your beliefs and your ideas, and it will bring up a lot of emotions when you're connecting with people in life. And this is a huge driver of pain, by the way. Physical pain, yes, back pain, hip pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, jaw pain. It's a huge driver of things like digestive trauma and insomnia and migraines, and the list goes on and on. It will weaken your immune system and your nervous system to not be yourself and express yourself and think that you are good enough. Another driver that often comes from this not enough syndrome is trying to please everybody. This is one of the top roots of disease, trying to please everyone. You'll never please everyone, no matter how good you are. And this creates so much fog because it starts to torque your true inner listening. When you get a gut feeling and you know something's not right for you, or you want to say something, but you hold back and you only say what you think the other person wants to hear or it will approve of, you start to suppress your own energy. You hold it down. You deny, you betray your own being. And this, my friends, will create massive fog. And done long enough, it will show up as symptoms of disease. Now, you're not going to find this on a diagnostic test. Oh, she's people pleasing. There's no test for this. So you're looking in the wrong place typically to find the problem. I had a lot of ideas about money, about men, about love, about success. Most of the ideas that I had, I got from someone else who got it from someone else, who got it from someone else, who got it from someone else, or who decided what was true based on their experiences. And we've all done this. We have an experience that we don't like, and then we make a decision. And many people decide, well, all men are like this, all women are like this, or the past is always going to repeat itself in the future. At a client earlier today, we were talking about this very thing. Because after you have certain experiences repeat, you start thinking, oh, it's always going to repeat like this. It's always going to be like this. You think the past is going to repeat. And so you lose hope, you get frustrated or angry or maybe afraid or sad. Many reactions, people have different reactions, but all of these create fog. Because the truth is, the past doesn't necessarily or need to repeat at all, ever. The future, you have no clue what the future brings, none. The only thing that is absolutely certain is what's here and now. But we live in a world that's not very focused on the here and now. It's focused on being good enough in the future and achieving goals in the future. And looking at the past, typically, and being mad at ourselves for what didn't go the way we wanted it to go. These things that I'm describing are completely 100% connected to physical pain and symptoms of dis-ease. They create the symptoms that show up in your body, and then your body gives you the feedback that something's off. But this is where most people go in the wrong direction. They just try to get rid of the symptom. Well, I don't like how this feels. I don't want to think like that. I don't want to feel like that, or I can't sleep. So I'm not going to look deep into why I can't sleep. I'm going to just take something for it. This is the way on planet Earth. And in my opinion, it's not a very healthy way to care for yourself. It's a way of not really listening. And listening is the key to finding what's off. See, nature, we're all designed with a blueprint to follow. You have an inner guidance system. You do, whether you know it or not, whether you've ever turned that GPS on or not, you have one. You may have learned very early in life not to trust it, or not to listen to it, or that you were wrong. So another example, growing up, I heard a lot, well, you shouldn't feel that way. Or don't ever feel that way around here again. Or the ideas that I had, things that I felt naturally drawn to or wanted to follow, I was told, no, you can't do that. No, you won't do that. Not in this house. So if you ever had an instinctual pull towards a person, a place, a class, a course, a city, anything, a food, and you either ignored it, or you were taught or told you can't have it, you shouldn't have it, you don't want it, you can't want it. No, okay? You felt yes energy, but you were given no energy, and eventually you accepted no energy. When you felt yes energy, that feeling, that yes energy, that pull, that curiosity, that motivation, that joy, or a sense of expansion, that is always your guiding light. But again, the world reinforces, be logical, be reasonable. That's not realistic. You're a daydreamer. You're a dreamer. That will never work. See, your yes energy pulls you in the direction of what some people might think are silly, not realistic, not going to work dreams. And that it is not realistic to follow that. I say we need to flip everything. We need to follow the yes energy, which is a feeling. And then the head, the intellect, needs to back that up. The head supports the yes energy, which is the feeling nature, which is feminine energy. And yet many people get lost. Well, you can get lost in either place. See, it's all about energy and how we use or don't use and follow or don't follow the direction of the feminine or the masculine energy. Some people love hanging out in their feminine energy. They also get sick from that. If you, for example, love to meditate, you love being quiet, you love being in nature, you have no problem being by yourself. You could do it for weeks. See, that was my story as well, years ago. You love things like prayer and meditation or spiritual books or workshops, but you don't really like money, earning a living, cleaning the house, like physical, practical things that your mother told you to do. We can get lost in the energy. For some people, that feminine being present, being in the now feels really good, but it can be used as an escape and not develop enough masculine energy to take it out into the world. Maybe you have a lot of ideas or visions, but you never get them even started or finished. I always had a million ideas, but I never finished anything early in my life because that logical masculine energy needs to help you get it out into the world. And what would happen is I would get very, very depressed because I had these ideas, but I couldn't get them off the ground, or I couldn't keep them flying. Then there are those of you, and I've lived on both sides of this fence in my life. So then there are those of you who maybe you know exactly what you want to do with your life, or you have a career goal, and you have any kind of goal, and you just go at it with a vengeance. And you don't listen when your body says, hey, easy does it, slow down, back off. You don't have to do all of this overnight. You're barrel over people. You don't listen to the voice that says, soften a little bit, take a break. And then you get injured or exhausted, or some kind of symptom flares up or pain flares up. And you just power through and power over. You just keep going no matter what, because your mother told you, don't be a quitter. So it can go in either direction, and they both can lead to pain and patterns and problems that end up really ugly. And then if you just try to deal with the symptoms, you can get lost for a long time. And we have yet on this planet to really recognize these deeper roots that I'm talking about, because and I understand it. I can totally understand when someone says, I just don't see how that's related to my kidneys or my liver, fatty liver, or, I get these emails every day. Well, but can you help somebody with COPD or carpal tunnel syndrome? Like, you've been given these labels, which are a label for a symptom, which is a pattern that your body's showing you it's carrying. But until you go deeper, see, carpal tunnel doesn't just show up. And people who have knee surgeries and still have the pain after the surgery, what's that about? Or maybe you've taken all kinds of medications for fibromyalgia and nothing's relieved. Maybe you've gone the natural route and you've changed your diet and you've done the anti-inflammatory foods and you're not overdoing exercise, but you still have arthritis pain. Maybe you're taking all kinds of anti-inflammatory drugs or patches, but you're not getting rid of the pain and the problems. Why? Why is this? By the way, if you haven't read a copy of my book, why do I still hurt? I'm doing all these things. Why do I still hurt? You can get a free copy at my website, internationalcpi.com. It's like a little workbook to help you go deeper with the questions that seem unrelated. Everything I'm talking about today, some of you might be going, what the hell is she talking? People pleasing and carpal tunnel, like how does that fit together? But it does. I promise you it does. Every label has an emotional and a thinking component to it. And that came before anything showed up physically. The mind, the thoughts, the habits of thought, and the emotions that you repeat and that you feel. This shows up before anything shows up physically. The body doesn't just for no reason attack you. I don't accept that theory. You may be attacking yourself, though, like I was for a long, long time, always telling myself I wasn't good enough, never feeling like I was smart enough, never thinking I could accomplish much, never really putting myself out there for fear of failing, holding it in, small, not seen, not heard, not fully expressing. This will affect you and show up, and you'll be given a label. So what do we do? First of all, I guess I'd love to know today, what brought you to the call? Usually there's people with all different types. I just launched a poll. I'd like you to take a look at the poll that showed up on your screen. You can click as many of those things as you like, but let me know what brought you here today. Was it physical pain, anxiety, depression, emotional pain, insomnia? Start clicking the dots here and talk to me so that I know what is going on with those of you here today live on the call. There's trauma, there's EMF sensitivity, there may be other things that are not listed. These are the main things that I see all the time that people come for. Mystery symptoms is a big one. Lots of physical pain here today. Yeah. Physical pain, anxiety, depression, emotional pain, and digestive issues seem to be the top. And trauma. Yeah. One of the things that's very misunderstood is how physical pain and trauma are connected. And that when traumas are not fully addressed and released. Now, notice I didn't say when you fully understand your trauma and you talk about it for 10 years and you know why you got trauma and how it happened, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to release the pain that comes with it. Knowing a lot about trauma and your specific trauma may make it actually flare up. You have to learn how to release the thoughts and the emotions that lie underneath all pain and symptoms and suffering. It's knowing more about something doesn't change it necessarily. It might for some people, but for most people, it doesn't change a thing. It just makes you more head knowledge. All right, thank you for filling out the poll. What's also interesting that I want to bring up is that I work with a lot of people who had accidents, and they may have been 20 years ago. Skiing, golfing, dancing, yoga, hiking, giving birth, just any reason, any type of injury. Car accidents, of course, is a big one. Accidents during surgery. And you may think it fully healed, but the imprint of it has emotions connected to it. So if you did not fully experience and release the emotions that came with the experience of the car accident or whatever it was, that disturbance may most likely is still imprinted in your energy field. Now, the reason, once I discovered this energy healing that I provide, the reason I got so passionate about it is that I recognize that everything and anything can be found in your energy field. And it really is the quickest way, the safest way, the fastest way to find what's going on with anyone without needing to talk about it for years and without the litany of testing. It can literally be found in your energy field. And think of it like tuning up a guitar. With a guitar, the strings might be fully fine, but they get out of tune. And so all of a sudden, this gorgeous instrument doesn't play the music. It sounds terrible. That doesn't mean you need to cut off all the strings. It doesn't mean you need a new guitar. It means you need to tune up the strings. Well, that's how you are. You need tuning up from time to time and releasing the things that cause you to go out of tune. You need to become aware of what causes you to go out of tune, and then you'll have a stronger sense of power over it instead of feeling like a victim of it. And the tune-up that's very most rapid happens when you have the energy healing. Now, some of you may start to experience that on a call like this, or even listening to an interview. I get emails all the time that in a very short little demo, people say, Deborah, I felt this leave and my pain was gone, and this happened and that happened, and I slept like a baby for the first time. Different things, headaches gone, whatever. It's everyone's different, of course. And some people will respond to it quicker. Those of you that are highly analytical, it may take a little more time for you to experience the information, or you may actually have the experience of healing and then kind of poo-poo it away and bring yourself back into your old pattern of overthinking or analyzing. And this can get in the way. A lot of analytical thinking can get in the way. It can bring back the very thing that actually happened because it's out of your belief system. And it's not like you have to believe in this for it to work, but it helps if you don't keep looking for the old constantly, or think thoughts like, well, the doctor told me it's impossible for me to heal. Or it's ideas like, it takes a long time to heal. I hear this all the time. I know it's going to take me a long time, Deborah. I know it has to come off in layers. I know that this is not going to be overnight. And these ideas are not true. They're not true, but they're commonly held beliefs. So we need a brainwashing. We need to wash and clean out our beliefs. And the energy healing and some of these other tools that I teach are the quickest way to do this. And most importantly, you have to recognize that the emotions, they are interconnected, and they're really, really probably the key factor to most people's problems that don't leave. And we haven't learned how to really access emotions easily. There's a lot of embarrassment and shame connected to having certain emotions, and more importantly, to expressing them. You watch, just watch. If and when most people cry, what's the first thing they do? They do exactly this. They go, "Oh, I'm so sorry." They drop their head, they cover their eyes, they cave in their heart, and they apologize for what is a God-given cleansing, releasing method that we've all been given. We have tears and we cry for a reason. It's a natural way of releasing pain and suffering. We've been given that tool, and we have learned not to express it. We have learned to shut it down and repress, that it's somehow immature, unprofessional, weak. So emotions are probably the thing when I work with people, that's the area that really needs a lot of support and that most people are not getting. There are not that many places in the world where you can go and just really speak what's on your mind without being judged or without somebody giving you advice or telling you to change how you feel. In one of the biggest ways that you can release stress, especially for women or those that carry a lot of feminine energy, is to feel it and allow it to come out and be heard, be witnessed, be witnessed without needing to be changed. Let me say that again. I admit I am definitely tired today. And so I'm having trouble talking. I've spent too many hours till 1 a.m. packing. And I'm like, it's hitting me. It's affecting me, folks. I'm going to try that one again. So, to have a safe space where somebody unconditionally allows you to express what's on your mind and heart without giving you advice or telling you you should raise your vibration and feel higher, happier, more joyful. This is one of the number one causes of pain and symptoms that don't leave no matter what you try. It is not popular. I know it's very popular to try to change your feeling state to a happier vibration and to change your thinking to a more positive. And I'm not saying walk around being negative, Nancy and Debbie Downer. That's not what I'm talking about. But I am talking about being honest, emotionally honest. And most people are not emotionally honest. They're cash register honest, but they're not emotionally honest. Because if you said how you really felt, think about it. Just for one day, notice how many times you don't really say how you really feel or what you really would like to say is on your mind. Notice how many times in one day you hold back, hold down, hold in. And you'll start to get a glimpse of why you may be suffering and not experiencing the joy and the comfort and the freedom in your body and mind that you would like to. Can anybody relate to what I'm saying? Does anybody aware? Okay, Penny, Scott, anybody else? Raise your hand or go down where it says reactions. You can type yes in the chat, but give me a thumbs up or a heart or something so that I know that you're following me, you're with me. This is not being talked about enough. These are the precursor causes to physical pain and disease, my friends. And it's something we have to get more comfortable talking about. The short version is get real. When I say get real, I mean, I really mean that. When I work with people, those of you who've worked with me, I really want to know how you really feel, not what you think I want to hear so that I think you're spiritual or smart or, no, I want to hear what you really feel inside and what's really bothering you and what you never said that you always wanted to say, but you held it in for decades. Who are you still angry at? Who are you still afraid of? What are your fears? See, this is how we heal. Everyone's looking for the technique. What can I do every day? What technique? The technique is get real. Get real, get really real and honest with, and I will also say, don't try to do this alone. There's a magnificent power that comes when you are witness. And this is where I lose people, because it's much easier to be at home alone by yourself and write down or say out loud what's bothering you and who's bothering you. But when you admit it to someone, another human being who will unconditionally support you, it takes it to a whole nother level. You'll have a quantum leap when you find someone you trust. That's when I started to heal. When I found my first person and I told the truth. I'll never forget the day I said, you know what? I'm really unhappy in my marriage. Now, it took me years to say that out loud to another human being. I was so programmed with, you can't let anyone know this. You can never say the word divorce out loud, ever, let alone think it, that it's something you would do. You have to just figure this out, Deborah. And so where did I get ulcers? And why did my stomach hurt all the time? Because I was holding things like that in. And if you want to know how to create an acidic condition, don't tell your truth ever again. Pretend everything's fine when it's not. Watch your hair fall out. Watch the insomnia. When you get real and you get really honest and you share that with someone you trust, and you start looking at your life and unpacking where you got off track, you will start to mend when you discover and discard and reinvent. That's how you mend. You discover. You have to look at everything, especially the stuff you don't want to look at. And you discard, and you delete, and you eliminate. And some things you delegate, and some things you keep. You'll find most of your ideas you'll delete completely. They're not even true, and they're not serving you. You'll find a lot of emotions you need to keep, but you've been pretending they're not there. And you will say things to me like, well, I just don't know, Deborah. I don't know how I feel. But you learned a long time ago, don't ever let anyone else know how you feel. So you got really good at keeping it down. Looking strong. Be a badass. If one more person says that to me, I just want to be a badass. Well, why don't you be real? Get really real, and you will be a badass. But you won't need to pretend and power through. And then find some hidden cysts and tumors and things that are hidden because you're not fully expressing, you're holding stuff in. Make sense? The physical is the outpicturing, the physical body is the outpicturing of the mental and emotional state of consciousness. Let me say that again. The physical body is the outpicturing of your mental state and your emotional state. So if you think you don't know how you feel or what you think or what you believe, your body will tell you what you believe. Your body will tell you how you feel. Even the posture, you'll see people's posture. I loved, when I lived in New York for a long time, I loved sitting on the street and just watching the people walk by. You could see and feel their life stories just by their posture. You'd see the people who were just like so beaten up and worn down by life, and they just couldn't stand up straight and hold their head high. These were clearly people who had been burdened and carrying a lot of pain. And then you would see other people who would walk, but they would lean back when they walk, like their hips and legs would go further because they were protecting themselves as they walked. And then you would see people who had their head would go first. These are people who are in their head leads them. Your posture says a lot about you and your life and your beliefs and how you live. So take a good look in the mirror tonight when you get off the call. Watch yourself walk without judging. Notice, do you get ahead of yourself? Do you lean way back, afraid to go back out into life? Are you kind of holding back? Do you lean to one side or the other? Do you favor one side, one hip, one leg, one foot? Which side? Your right masculine side or your left feminine side? These are clues to you and what makes you tick. All right. Gosh, how does the time go so quickly? All right. So what I want to check the chat for just a moment, and then I want to take us through a little exploring. So Tanya has a really great comment in the chat. She said, being truthful is a great adventure because it opens you up to showing yourself to others, and not everyone will like you, but everyone worth knowing will at least respect your honesty. And you can find the right people for your best life as you can also learn how to interact with family. It's very true. That's a beautiful, aware comment. So Anna is saying it's sometimes hard to stand up to certain people, especially if they have been abusing you for so many years. Yes, I agree. And not only that, I would say, in many cases, now I'm not saying, well, the question I would have is, why would you keep putting yourself around people who are abusing you? The key is stop allowing the abuse. And it can be very frightening to do that. And that's where you need the support, because, those that are true manipulators and abusers, they can be very manipulating and abusive, and it can be very frightening. And I've been through that. And at that time in my life, I put up with it a long time, A, thinking I could fix it, B, thinking maybe it was my fault, and C, just too afraid of leaving. So you have to look at what can you change in yourself if you've been suffering trauma from abuse, or even if it was a long time ago. See, you'll take those patterns with you into your current relationships. You may have moved across the country. You may have moved to another country. You may be living with completely different people, and then lo and behold, that same pattern comes back, and all of a sudden your boss or your roommate, they're treating you like the abuser from the past. See, these are lessons for us to learn what we need to change and work on in ourselves. And it does require support. I don't recommend doing this alone. I will say, I've never seen anything more quickly clean up these imprints from the past as the high-speed energy healing. It's a safe way without re-triggering the original incidents, and it doesn't take talking about it for 10 years. And you can clean this stuff up, my friends. So don't think that you have to keep putting up with something that is abusive. I did that for a long time. At first, I didn't even recognize the abuse. I just thought it was my fault. And if I tried harder, I could make it stop. And so you really have to examine this from a lot of different places. And sometimes it's hard to see ourselves, which again, why there's no shame in reaching out to somebody with expertise, because we don't see ourselves very well or clearly at first. And then as you wake up, you start to be able to observe yourself better and more accurately. And then you don't need the constant support. But in the beginning, it was tough for me. I didn't like to admit I needed help. I was always the type that would try to do it myself. I'm still trying to do that with my move. I did hire movers, Okay, I'm not going to move but you know, I pack it myself, I clean it. I want to know where it is so I can unpack and find it. But you have to really look at that. It's because a lot of people just refuse to ask for help. And that's exactly what we need. All right. Elizabeth said, oh, this is beautiful. She said, it's hard to speak and feel my truth. So I wear a heart ring to remind me to speak my truth. See, that's that's like a little touchstone that she wears every day to remind herself that it's important to speak your truth. Tiara says, I feel trapped and like I'm a burden. All right. And I see your hand is up. Maybe we'll explore that a little bit today. All right. I hope I pronounced your name right. Gila says, yes, I am not emotionally honest. See, we need to tell on ourselves. We need to tell the truth about ourselves. And there's no shame in that. That's how you heal. You recognize, oh, I just caught myself telling a little white lie, or not saying anything at all. That sin of omission. That was what I did a lot. I just wouldn't say anything because my mom taught me, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I learned to be that way. Now, I'm not saying you should go around and tell everybody every thought that runs through your mind. There are some that are inappropriate, but your thoughts and your feelings are not inappropriate for you. And you need to become aware of which ones are serving you, which ones need to be expressed, which ones need to, are not worth the trouble to even speak up. I work with a lot of mothers and their kids, and the mothers can't understand why telling their 14-year-old over and over and over and over what they think the 14-year-old should do isn't working for the child. We get in people's faces sometimes, telling them what they should do. Now, I'm not saying be a negligent parent. You need to help teach your kids and set boundaries and expose them to things that are outside their realm of understanding and stretch them, but they may not like it. And if you are holding back all the time, one extreme or the other, either holding back or constantly in someone's face, neither one of those is really effective, and it will lead you to having problems. Thank you, Rachel. That's so sweet of you. Let's see. Okay, this is interesting. Lydia is asking, she said, I can't figure out why I pull the skin on my fingers off. I think it's trauma related. And these are, some people, there's a lot of cutting these days going on, and hair pulling is another one, biting the nails. These often are indicative of emotions, typically fear-based emotions that are getting expressed in these ways. If you have a lot of energy where you feel like you just want to jump out of your skin, or you can't get comfortable, and that's when people do these kinds of habits show up. And that a lot of energy, that uncomfortable feeling, often comes from the emotions that you're either picking up around you, or they're your own emotional reactions to something around you that you are choosing to be part of, but that isn't good for you, or you're not speaking your truth about it. So I don't want to overgeneralize, because everyone's different and we would need to talk about it. But in general, when the body knows how to get rid of extra stress, and it does it by things like shaking, twitching, itching, the body doesn't naturally hold on to extra stress. People get labeled with restless leg syndrome all the time. And every time I work with someone like this, they hold on internally to emotions. And they're oftentimes overthinkers as well. And overthinkers will generate strong emotions, and then they don't let it out. And so it comes out when they're asleep and their mind is out of the way, and the body finally has a chance to let go and release. Some of these nervous tics and twitches and all these things get labeled with different fancy names. But everyone that I work with, when we go down and we take it apart, we're not that complicated, my friends. We're thinking creatures and we're feeling creatures. And we're responding all day long to all the information that's happening around us that we are aware of. And much of it you might not like, or you may not have learned the skills to deal with it properly. So you get confused, frustrated, angry, afraid, upset. And that's energy. That energy has to go somewhere. And if it's not going out and being released, it's going in and staying in. And our thoughts, which every one of us, we have a mind. The purpose of that mind is to think. There's nothing wrong with thinking. But when you get stuck in a loop, a habit of thinking, and to make it worse, if the thoughts aren't even true, and you think them over and over and over and over, longer and longer and more often, that's energy. And that's generating an emotional reaction. And those two together, if they're not being released and corrected, they are going in and showing up sideways as a symptom or some form of dis-ease in your body, your mind, and your life. Are you with me? Am I making sense? Yeah? Okay, good. All right, so there's a few hands up. I'll take a few callers tonight. I don't always do this, but I'm going to take a couple, 2 or 3 callers, and then you can tell I've been doing this a long time. It used to be we dialed in over the phone. There was no Zoom, and everything was done over the phone, and there would be callers. So that's where that just comes out naturally. All right, Tiara, going to ask you to unmute. And if you raise your hand, I'd like you to go right directly to your question. And then if I need to know more, I'll ask you more information. Don't give me the backstory, everybody, because out of respect for everyone in the nature of, that we're going to run out of time quickly. You can either type your question in the chat, or if you raise your hand, just go right to your question. All right, Tiara.
Yes. Can you
Hi.
hear me? Hi. Yes, thank you so much for taking my question, Deborah. I would like to know, how can I get rid of chronic nerve pain and I've been classified as legally blind from having an optic nerve issue. And this has been going on for about 9 years now, from an autoimmune condition that attacked I'm using the doctor's language, that attacked my central nervous system. And so it hurts really bad, and I feel like I'm a burden because my mom is taking care of me and my son now. And, this was supposed to be her senior years where she had the house all clear of children, but here I am, 42 years old, and she's still taking care of me. So I want to know how to fix all this.
Well, first of all, you're a blessing, and you need to know that. And you're blessed to have a mother that will take care of you at 42 years old. And that you should be saying thank you to her, of course, but I'm just saying thank you, God, because
Yes.
what you needed has been provided, you see. And
Yes.
you've judged your condition as something bad. Now, don't get me wrong. I know what you're after here, but part of the paradox and the problem that keeps the problem stuck, everybody, please listen closely, is when you want to get rid of something so bad, you're actually feeding energy into the problem. This is going to sound crazy to some people, but the paradox is when you can accept what's going on, there's a peace that comes, and there isn't a single body that ever recovered by stressing it out more. Healing comes from peace. Inner peace must come first before you see outer peace. So the best thing you can do is quit judging yourself and carrying shame and guilt because your mom's taking care of you. Say, thank you, God, and see that everything's being provided for. Second, do everything under the sun to help your body relax, because the body loves to go back into balance, but it requires backing off, not trying harder. And what do most people do? The first thing they say to me, Deborah, I've been trying so hard. I've been trying for years. I've been trying and trying and trying, right?
Yes.
To figure it out and to make this go away. You're resisting it. And that is putting energy in the wrong direction.
Because it hurts. It hurts.
But it hurts. And the way pain releases is when you stop resisting it. Part of you is afraid, you don't want to feel the feeling.
Right.
And what that does is you tense up, and it actually causes pain to get worse. So the other thing that I must say and ask you is there anything before this condition even began? Was there is it left or right eye? Left?
My left eye and my left side of my torso hurts the most.
Yeah, and the left side is your feminine energy.
And it's my dominant side. I'm left-handed and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, but see, the left side is the feminine energy. And were there issues with your mother growing up?
No, my mom was very loving and everything.
Okay.
I didn't have my dad, but my mom has been the one.
Okay. So if there was something that was painful to your feminine when you were growing up, what would that have been? Yeah.
To my feminine growing up.
Yeah.
I can't say that there was something painful to my feminine at all. It was my father being missing, and whenever he would say he would come over and then not show up, and
So
I'd be all pretty and waiting for him, but he didn't come.
And
that kind of stuff.
That wasn't painful?
Yes, that was painful.
That's my point, is that your little girl wanted your father to be there for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And he didn't show up, or he was inconsistent, or you see. And so do you remember how that made you feel?
Oh, yes, I do. I would cry and my mother would try to clean up the tears.
And do you think, and how long did that go on?
Oh, all my childhood. The last time he did that, I was 22 years old, and I told him about himself when he did it.
Yeah. And was there anything growing up that you just didn't want to see happening?
Didn't want to see happening. Not that I can recall. Oh, when I had a stepfather after I was about 5, and we were at dinner one time and there was a fight, and he threw a hot plate of food at my mom and busted her lip all open. And that made me run out the house and find a neighbor to call the police. And then after that, I didn't want to see him anymore. I didn't want to be there anymore. That happened. And then we left eventually.
Yeah, but you see, these are the types of things that occur. And then the body holds on to the experience, the emotional experience. Because at 5, you don't know what to do.
No.
And you're 5. You know, these big people are putting a roof over your head and food on the table. And what do you know, but something doesn't feel right, right?
Yes.
Or is painful. And if it goes on long enough, And I'd say 22 years is certainly long enough.
Yes.
I find that when most people go through a period of 1 to 2 years of a lot of stress, it
Mm-hmm.
starts to show up some way in the body. And
Hmm.
you've had, um, eventually it wears us out.
Yes.
So I don't have time today because, this is not a
Okay.
private session, but I think you're hearing me.
Yes,
Like
I am.
your body, you're feminine, and it's no accident you're with your mother, and she sounds like, a strong
Oh, yes.
woman, right? She developed a lot of masculine energy, which you needed because there wasn't a
Oh,
man
yeah.
in the house, right?
Oh, yes.
But that nurturing feminine energy, that little girl who wants daddy to just love them, and see, that was missing. And that's your left side, and you have left-sided issues. So we would need to explore this further, but this is where I think this is what's going on. There's a suppression that they might call autoimmune, and then it shows up.
Mm-hmm.
But we would need to explore this further. So either reach
Okay.
out or make sure you come back, read my book, you know,
Okay.
grab one. This kind of thing is really good for what I offer as a discovery session, where we go deep into, I help you find the roots and
Mm-hmm.
help you see how you're holding on still. And
Mm-hmm.
then we do the energy healing, and then a lot of stuff can move pretty quickly once we really explore your particular way that your body is telling the story of your life.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And when I was 32, that
Mm.
whole year, 2015, well, 2014 was extremely stressful. So there was a lot of things that happened there too. So
And
I can see.
when did your eyes start flaring up? What year about?
Oh, all of it happened in 2015. I went into a coma for
Uh,
about 2.5 months, and then they told my parents that it was a very, very rare autoimmune condition. Yeah.
well, see,
So
we would need to talk further about this, but
yes, okay.
that 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 happens for a reason. And
Mhm.
your body just said, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done here.
Yes.
And what I would highly recommend is that you allow your mother to give, and allow yourself to learn how to receive, because that's what feminine energy is about, is learning to receive lovingly and graciously. And you've been
Okay.
given the time to heal and someone to help you. So let it be okay to receive the help and learn and let your body relax. And I'm not saying it's as simple as this. There's more that we would do together if we were private. I don't, I can't go into the whole thing on a call,
Yes.
but
Sure.
I think you're hearing me. And so
I am.
thank you for opening up. I appreciate it.
Thank you for taking my question. Thank you so much, Deborah.
You're welcome. Um, okay, let's see. All right. 561. I'm going to ask you to unmute and share your name if you would, please. 561.
Hello, my name is Karen.
Hi, Karen. Thanks for being here
Hi.
today.
Yes, I'm only on the phone. You had said something about the
Oh,
phone, and
yeah.
I actually phoned in on Zoom.
Great. I love it.
I guess I believe, or I feel that my pain, like arthritis pain, is caused by extreme loneliness. I know that that's
Yeah.
what's made me have all the pain.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I was once part of a family, and I'm just alone now, and not trying to feel sorry for myself, but the flip side of it is that I'm afraid to try and reconnect again with other people, because I've had heartbreak, and that I don't know which is worse, which pain is worse. So I end up stuck alone and lonely.
Yeah.
And being afraid to reach out to other people, because I put up a wall because I can't get too close to them because then I could get hurt again. So
Yeah. So
that's my source of pain, right?
I feel it actually. You feel that in your chest and up in your throat that wants to come out.
Yes, and I've gotten better at speaking what's on my mind, but I just usually don't have too many people to
Yeah.
speak with.
Yeah. So I want to remind you of something very important. You went through a really rough time or times where you felt hurt from interactions with other people, right?
Yes, that is absolutely correct.
But what I want to remind you of is that you survived that. You did not die from that. It did not kill you. It hurt. I suspect you didn't fully grieve it. That's one thing I do suspect, because I can feel how much you hold in your chest. But now what you're doing is you made a decision. Oh, I don't want to feel that anymore. So now I won't get close and allow myself to receive any other joy from any other relationships. You made a decision that is not in your highest and best interest, because you don't want to feel a feeling, which is just energy that if you would feel would release and it wouldn't kill you, just like it didn't kill you. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
It's a feeling. Now, no one has ever yet come to me and said, Deborah, I had this experience and I felt so much joy and I never want to feel that again. And so I'm just not going to have any more fun the rest of my life. I'm not going to do anything I like. See, no one has ever said that to me. What this tells me is that you judge certain emotions as bad. You're scared of a feeling. Now, it's just a feeling. And you gave it meaning. And if we were to explore this further, I bet I would find out you decided it meant something about you. And that maybe what you're really scared of is, if I let people in close and they reject me, it means deep down, I am not good enough. Have you ever wondered about that?
I'm pretty sure of it, actually. Yeah.
See, so we're afraid that they're going to really see us if we let them in, and they're going to see that we are that ugly thing that we think we are, which couldn't be further from the truth. And so the key to healing in your situation, and many others that I'm sure can relate to this, is to first start appreciating and loving yourself exactly the way you are. Because there will always be people who don't like us. There will always be people who do like us. There will be some people who could give or take, they don't really care either way about us. There'll be people you don't like. There'll be people you do like. There'll be people you're like, I don't know, that doesn't really matter to me. But when you judge yourself, it's back to that people-pleasing thing I was talking about earlier. You're not here to get other people's approval and please them and make other people happy. There's nothing wrong with trying to please someone or make someone happy, but it's you can't make someone happy who isn't willing to be happy, no matter how hard you try. And you can't be good enough for people, because to some people it will never be good enough, no matter what it is or who it is. This is about you finding yourself, which is what I've been talking about all night. Finding yourself, your true self. And Karen, you're keeping yourself alone and you're punishing yourself because you got hurt in the past by some people or whoever or whatever. And you made it, you're telling yourself a story about that I question is even true. So how does that work? How is that helping you?
It's not really, no.
So what do you want is the real question. What do you want?
to be able to be close to other people.
Okay. And what's your deepest fear that causes you to stop letting them in and then staying lonely and alone?
Maybe what you said, fear of not feeling like they'll find out that
They'll find
you
out.
know, yeah, they'll find out that I have all these, weaknesses and imperfections
Yes,
and
right?
things like.
They're going to find out who I really am. And then let's take it a little further. Let's say they found out. Okay. What's the worst that you can imagine if they found out you're not perfect? Then what? Then what happens?
Well, they'll run away, and then it's a self-fulfilling loneliness thing. So they'll find it. They won't be my friend, or they won't want to be with me, and then it's like, see, that's why I'm alone, because I can't really connect with other people, sort of like that.
So are you telling me that of all the billions of people on the planet, there wouldn't be one person that you could connect to? Not one.
So because I've isolated myself so much in the fear, I don't have to give myself the opportunity to meet that many people. So
But that's
it's
not
like
my
a
question.
circle.
That's not my question.
Yes, there definitely is somebody and many people,
Right.
but I just haven't had the chance to meet them.
Well, let's go back. You said, and this is where this is where you lose your power. See, you're not owning what you're doing. You need to recognize you're choosing to stay alone. You're choosing to stay alone because you have a fear that they're going to find out who you really are, and they're going to see the real you, and then they're going to leave. So why bother letting them in the first place? Now, I just asked you, are you sure that every single person would find you unacceptable and leave you? Every single person, not one would want to hang out or be your friend or anything. And you said no.
No.
Right.
No.
It's absurd.
Right.
But what you're doing is you're choosing to not allow yourself the experience of letting someone come in any closer at all because of an old idea that isn't true, that you just told us, all of us, we all witnessed, you said, no, that's, of course, there'd be somebody. There'd probably be lots of somebodies. So see, what's happened here is you've created a self-sabotaging loop of your own making from a false belief based on a past experience that you didn't like how it felt. Now, do you think that anyone goes through life and completely avoids ever having an experience where they don't like how it went or how it felt? Is that possible in your mind?
No, it's not. It's just that as I've gotten older, I feel that each time it happens, it kind of weakens me more and gives me less motivation to try again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But there's a reason that it keeps happening. And so this is where you're probably not seeing yourself clearly because you're so afraid of people leaving. There may be things that the ways that you're thinking, acting, telling yourself that literally are repelling instead of connecting. You may not be practicing connecting.
I bet that's true. I bet I'm unconscious of it though, but I bet you're absolutely correct.
Well, let's make it conscious. What's one thing that you do when you let somebody in? What's one thing that you do that's a disconnect rather than a connect? What's one way you protect yourself or don't let them really in so that you connect?
I'd have to think about that. I can't think of anything.
Okay,
right
that's
off
your
the top.
homework. That's your homework. I want you to do some writing. And I want you to go back and think about some of these things these patterns that you say have happened more than once, where you let them in and they leave. And I want you to go back and write out the whole story. And I want you to look at what was your part that might not blame, but what did you do or say or not do that made you feel separate and not connected.
Mhm.
Look at what might you have done that really kept them from getting close enough so that the relationship didn't blossom, and how,
Right.
you see, and what kind of pain did that cause you as a result? And then the final important question is, am I willing to change my pattern? Am I willing? That's really all that it takes. Are you willing to get a little help and maybe get some greater insight into your part in it? But once you're become aware of what you may be doing or not doing or saying or not saying, that's causing this pattern to keep repeating, are you willing to change your part?
Yes. You know, something interesting just occurred to me as you were speaking. I think of a couple of different women who I recently, thought we were developing some kind of a friendship. And it just occurred to me that perhaps, they're kind of like doing the same thing as I am. They
Yeah,
could also be sabotaging it because they
yeah.
have their own baggage and I'm wondering, it's two of us, and maybe I'm attracted to people who I think are not a certain like aggressive or something, but maybe they're
Yeah,
dealing with something they're doing just what I'm doing, perhaps.
that's exactly it. We tend to, life really can act as a mirror. And
Mhm. Mhm.
I know in my case, so I used to be very unavailable, but I didn't know I was unavailable. And I would say, why are they always unavailable? These men or women. And
Yes.
I actually chose people like that because I felt safer with them because I was scared of getting close, like you're talking about. So
Yes. Yes.
see, you have to start recognizing everyone is helping you see who you really are. Like vibration attracts like vibration. So chances are you are meeting people, they could be like you. And rather than blaming anyone, them or you want to learn from the situation. Wow,
Mhm.
and ask yourself, am I willing to change? Because when we
Mhm.
change, other people magically change too in many cases. It's very interesting. So they may be there so you could see yourself more clearly. And you're right, it's not always about you. Everybody's going through their own stuff. And
Right, and not to blame other people, but it could be like almost like a deadly combination between
yeah,
me and the other person.
exactly. And you may be taking things personally that aren't about you at all. That's very common and a major cause of pain. So
Yes.
food for thought,
Mhm.
food for thoughts. You'll start to have these awarenesses now that we've talked about it, and you'll start to see yourself and others with a different lens. So
Yes, thank you so very much. I greatly appreciate it.
you're very welcome. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. Um, all right, so my friends, it's now 6:30 and our time has come to a close, but we're all not that different. And I really, really want to encourage you to recognize that life is meant to be a flow and to be enjoyed more often, not to be a struggle. I grew up thinking life was hard and a struggle and nothing ever turns out well. And what now and what next, and waiting for the next shoe to drop and all these things, these sayings you hear. And it can be like that, but it can also be the opposite of that. And we have a lot to do with it. What we see, what we believe, what we think about, and how we feel are contributing to our experience in life. So I want to leave you with this question and ask you to practice it till I see you next time. Thank you, Mary. I'm so glad Mary said this has been amazing. And it's 2:30 a.m. where she lives. Oh my God. Now that's commitment. That's willingness. So the question I want to ask you all to ponder is, are you willing? Are you willing to see the truth, to know the truth, to feel the truth about yourself? Are you willing to see the truth of you without judging it, without apologizing? And I want you to start practicing that. And if you would like more help with that, if, most of us have blind spots, we just don't see ourselves that clearly. And that's why I still offer these one-on-one discovery sessions. I also have a group for those of you terrified to be one-on-one alone with me. There's a group and you can hide out just like you can hide out here. And there's something for everyone, but I really would love to help you further. And these deep discovery sessions, they can be life-changing just to get a different view on what's going on at a deeper level, and to have me dive into the questions that you wouldn't think to even ask yourself, and to help show you how the body and certain places in the body are representative of what you've been through and where you might be holding on, and then to help you bring that up and release it. So please reach out if you would like more help. I'll put in the chat. Whoops, let me put it to everyone. Where's everyone? Everyone. All right. So if you go to the website, you'll find all the different ways. Gotta move my microphone. Sorry, it's in the way of my typing. Ooh. If you go to internationalcpi.com, there's a button that says Get Started at the top in the menu bar, and will show you all the different services. There's one-on-one and group. If you want to go straight to the discovery session I've been talking about, go to internationalcpi.com/discovery. I just put that link in the chat. You should be able to click on it or copy it and cut and paste it, or just type it into your browser. And that will tell you more about what we do in the discovery session. It's for anything at all. I don't care what type of pain, pattern, problem, symptom, condition, if it's brand new, if it's ancient history, if you think it's past life or your lineage or whatever. The discovery session, we go deep into any of these issues. And I would love to shed some light, because where there's light, there is no darkness, my friends. So let's bring some light into your body, your mind, your life, your spirit. This is the year to lighten up, to turn all the lights on. We are living in a world that is really trying to work out these deep conflicts. What you're going through on a personal level is what we're seeing playing out in the big planetary level. But the problem is, we can only heal one person at a time. We can't make laws that make everybody behave a certain way and get inner peace. We have to do the work one person at a time, which is why I want to thank you for being here, because without you, the world will not change. And it doesn't just magically change. That's that fantasy thinking. We need to discover who we are. Remember, we're deeply connected, divine, sacred, energetic beings. And you've got a spirit living in that body that wants freedom. And that's why you're here. Wants to be free to express and share and be yourself and follow your bliss. So all of this can sound like, Hallmark cards, but it really is true. And so the work to do is to discover and remove any blinders to the fog that you've collected, and we've all collected some fog in our lives, and just learn how to release it, not keep carrying it around and holding it in because of shame or guilt or fear of what people will think. Bring it to me. I'll bust it up with you. It will be a great pleasure. All right, my friends, thank you for being here today. You are so amazing. I'm going to ask everyone to unmute now so we can say
Bye.
goodbye to each other. So thank you, everyone. I
Thank
hope
you.
to speak soon.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
Bye.
you.
Night, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you.